Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. It's Rustbelt Collector here, and today we have a bit of a haul video, though I will say this isn't quite like my normal mail haul type videos. Basically what happened is there was a local unlimited garbage pickup day, and I like to drive around those and see what's what, see if people are throwing away anything good. And also there was a flea market. So between the two things, I actually got some really interesting stuff, and I wanted to go over it and just kind of show what I got. Spoiler warning though, some of this isn't necessarily toy related, but because this is the Rustbelt Collector channel and not the Rustbelt Only Collects Toy channel, you're just gonna have to put up with it. There's quite a few different things that I like to collect or have an interest in, and so yeah, this is just kind of a haul video showcasing some of those other things that I really do enjoy. But without further ado, let's get this Lanyard G.I. Joe knockoff chrome space guy that I got from the thrift store out of the way, and we'll move on to what I got in this haul. The Unlimited Garbage Day happened first, so I'm going to go over those things, and then we'll go into the things I got from the flea market. But first, I got this cool Uncanny X-Men comic book. It's actually just a black and white compilation of various comic books combined into a paperback format. I love the X-Men. They are my favorite superheroes, and this is a classic, I believe from the 90s, printed, 1990, printed comic book. I love the artwork, and yeah, it was just worth picking up out of the garbage. Next, I got a completely unused roll of Kodak film. This was actually in a disposable camera, and I broke the disposable camera open and got the film out of it. I like to shoot film photography on the side. It's just kind of a fun hobby of mine, so it's always nice to get a nice roll of film. This may be, not the best quality because it's expired and also because it's been in varying degrees of temperature, but it still might create some cool photos, and thus it's worth it to me. It's worth to take the risk on because it's a free roll of film. You can't argue with that. Now, I'm sure many people may have heard stories of people throwing away Lego for some reason. I think that's just absolutely insane, especially because growing up, we didn't really have that many Lego bricks, We had a small assortment, a small little bin, and so any pieces that were missing, I would be searching for because I wanted as many Lego bricks as possible. But, yeah, I found Lego in the garbage. Now, these are just the minifigures that I found. It was a pretty cool assortment of little minifigs, but I did find many bricks. I'm just not bothering to show them. I had to pick them out of various cardboard boxes, of course, and combined, I'd say I got at least a pound of various Lego bricks. The minifigures, though, are cool because two of them are from the Lego movie. Obviously, they're not really complete, but we have Emmett and one of these, the police robots. I love the Lego movie, and I don't know, it was kind of silly. I just didn't collect Lego at the time, so I missed out on a lot of the Lego movie sets, and I wish I could go back and get them, especially like Brickpocalypseburg, the giant Statue of Liberty set, but alas, I can't. I'm happy to get two more Lego movie characters, or at least parts to them. And then we got this guy from one of those lines that I just can't remember the name of at the moment. It's kind of like Space Police, but it's definitely not Space Police. And then we have a mishmash of Ninjago, Clone Wars, Luminara Unduli, and Space Police. So, some cool minifigure parts. They're a little bit scratched up, beat up, but overall they're solid enough to be added to the collection. And then finally, for the things from the dumpster, apart from some Nerf guns that I did pick up and a few other odds and ends, this is the last little bit that I got from the garbage day. And yeah, I love vintage stuff, and I love stuff from anything from the 50s, even 1900s, all the way up until the present. I'm a huge fan of just retro, vintage, antique stuff. And VHS tapes are certainly not really that vintage. I grew up with them, but they are certainly not a common form of media anymore. So I had to take these, absolutely. I got The Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones, both on VHS, which is really exciting. But the kind of disappointing thing is that they never made Revenge of the Sith, on VHS that is. It was kind of that time period where they were phasing out the VHS and they were phasing into DVDs, and so we never got a matching VHS of Revenge of the Sith, which is really disappointing. I know you can buy custom slip covers like this, and that way your shelf looks more complete, but it's kind of a bummer. They never made it. So yeah, I have the two prequels, but you'll never see the third. Then I got Raiders of the Lost Ark, just another classic video to have on VHS. I do have a VHS player as well, so it'll be fun to just watch these on the old school TV, just a good time, a good nostalgia trip. That cover art is just absolutely classic. And then finally, probably the oddest thing I've ever found in the garbage, Yeah, here is a promo VHS for Donkey Kong Country. It's a game promo VHS that I'm assuming was probably played at like Family Video or like Blockbuster or something. But yeah, it's like a promo VHS. You can see by the length of tape there that it's a very short promo. It's not very long at all, but this is how media was shared back in the day. So I don't know if this is something that was mailed out to people or if it was only shown in, in like the video stores. But either way, it's really cool. It's really clever, and I love this so much. It's such a unique piece of older media because it's something that would have been either mailed out or mailed to like the Blockbuster and stuff. And thus, it's not your typical VHS release. It was probably meant to be disposed of. And yeah, here it is now in 2022. It's just cool. This is the kind of vintage stuff that I like. The stuff that really wasn't meant to be saved and isn't really common, but is very unique. I like collecting unique things, and this is certainly one of them. So we go from digging through people's garbage to digging through people's garbage at a flea market. That's kind of how it feels like sometimes, but I got some cool stuff. So first up we have Stranger Things Season 1 on DVD. Ironically enough, they made this box to look like a VHS box. It even says, VHS high fidelity. I love that about this. I don't have this on DVD. I love Stranger Things, so it seemed fitting. And again, for $3, you really can't argue with that. Now, this next pickup is kind of an odd one, but for $1, I picked up this McFarlane Warthog. And you might be going, wow, that's amazing. That's so cool. For $1? Well, yes and no, because as you can see, it's very broken. It has like a broken steering wheel in there. It's broken there. It's, the windshield's broken out. It doesn't have a turret, and worst of all, it doesn't have a wheel. And not just a wheel, but it is missing its entire axle. So for $1, yeah, it's kind of a piece of junk, but conveniently enough, I have a turret for this, and so I'm kind of planning on having it be a battle-damaged Warthog, just like this, with the turret mounted on it and having some Spartans and Marines around it, probably for some toy photography over on my Instagram. Yeah, for $1, there was no arguing with it. It is very dirty, beat up, played with, battle-damaged, but yeah, it can definitely still have a second life as a battle-damaged, semi-blown-up Warthog. And next up we have some very cool little miniature toys, because, this is a toy channel, so we still have to review some toys in this haul. So I have here some Action Fleet miniatures, and what I believe is a Hasbro miniature from their Star Wars Transformers crossover, this being Revenge of the Sith Anakin Skywalker. And yeah, he's significantly bigger than Action Fleet. I always wondered how these miniatures actually scaled to Action Fleet. The answer is they are significantly larger. I'd say this is about 1 inch, and this is about 3/4 of an inch. But yeah, you can go over there. We have these guys here, the Action Fleet figures. They're very cool. I like them a lot. I love Action Fleet. I had them growing up, and so having some more of the actual little characters, because I always had the ships, I didn't always have a lot of the miniatures. It's pretty cool. We have a TIE pilot. We have what I'm going to call the Zombie Snowtrooper, because his arms are both together. They're linked together by like a peg running through there, so yeah, when he wants to shoot at the rebels, he has to walk like a zombie, and I think that's awesome. Just kind of one of those things that only happens with these older toys that are just so simple, so dated, but also so iconic. I love them so much. So there's that, and then we have the Death Star Protocol droid. He also has that same system with his arms. They have to move in unison, but it works a little bit better with him because he doesn't have a blaster. So yeah, there we go. Some Action Fleet and some classic G.I. Joe. It's been a while since I've had some classic G.I. Joe to feature here on the channel, but I still do have a very, very special place in my heart for these guys, because I grew up with classic G.I. Joe. Some of them were passed down to me from my older siblings, and yeah, classic G.I. Joe is one of my favorite toy lines. I have way more nostalgia for classic Joes than I do for Star Wars. And that may come as a surprise to people because Star Wars is so prominent in my collection and my channel and everything, but Joes are really where it's at for me. The only reason I don't have a larger Joe collection is because it's kind of expensive to try and track down these older figures, especially the ones that I grew up with, because they were like all the original line figures. and it's also kind of hard to track down consistently the classified line. So I have quite a few classified figures. I have a few of the vintage figures. I really don't have any of the ones I grew up with, unfortunately. But yeah, ultimately it kind of had to take a back seat because Star Wars was easier to acquire. I could get a lot of clone troopers for like $5-10 a piece, whereas I would have to pay more like $20 for a figure like this. But I believe that this is the Tiger Force Cobra Viper. I could be wrong about that. I never really learned all their names. I just thought they looked cool, and especially with the Vipers, I love Vipers. This will be the third classic Viper that I have. I have the original, I have a later 90s release with green camouflage, and now I have this one. The Viper and the Alley Viper are my two all-time favorite G.I. Joe Cobra figures. And yeah, I'm just excited to have another one. I wasn't really expecting to find vintage Joes at a flea market, but thankfully there was a vendor who had a couple, and this is the one that I chose. It's kind of a bummer because he does have cracks here at the elbow, but that is so common with these older Joes that I just kind of have to accept it as part of the territory when collecting these. As long as it's not like a thumb being broken off or the crotch piece being broken off, I can deal with it. I'm not really going to go crazy with posing these guys. They're a little bit too fragile for that. I feel like they can get some posing, but not a lot. Either way, though, I'm really stoked to have this guy in the collection. Another Cobra Viper. And I have the 6-inch classified version of this figure on pre-order, so when I get that in, I'll be able to do a cool comparison video now. And I also got these 2 rolls of film brand new in the packaging for like a couple bucks each. They are expired and everything, just like that roll back there that I got for free, but for a couple bucks, it's worth the risk, again, because film is kind of hard to come by nowadays. They do still make it, but the prices have gone up. So yeah, I'm always happy to get more film, and at a flea market, you know, you can't say no to it. And now for the final thing that I found. This one has kind of a cool story, so I will just leave you guys looking at this mystery bag of goodies that I found kind of like the last minute at the flea market. I was walking around, I was actually a table vendor selling there, so that was like a whole thing, and then, you know, when I had free time, I'd go walk around. So I was walking around, hadn't really found anything, and then I spotted a tub of figures, like just figures that are like the 12-inch G.I. Joes, but not like the 12-inch G.I. Joes that are cool, like knockoff versions of them, things like that, all in a big plastic bin. And at the bottom, I spotted a couple things that caught my eye. And those things were Bionicles. So yeah, I asked the person that was running the booth if I could dig through and pick out all the Bionicle parts, and then, you know, if they'd give me a price for them. And they were gracious enough to let me do that. So let's dig into which Bionicles I got and the cool little surprise that I also found at the bottom of that box. So of course there's a lot of like loose parts and stuff. I'm really not going to bother showing you those. Those are just nice to have in the collection because you can never have too many Bionicle or Lego parts. You know, it just goes to make more fun custom builds. But there's actually some cool complete or near complete figures that I got to show you. So first up, I grabbed this guy right here. I thought that it was a reboot Bionicle figure from like the 2018 reboot or whatever year those came out. But actually, this is from Hero Factory. This is Corroder, one of the villains. They all use Bionicle parts. It was just kind of like a soft reboot for Bionicle that Lego tried to do, and it didn't last for very long. But yeah, here's Corroder. He's got some cool parts. I love the neon green that they use for the plastic. He's got some sticker elements, which definitely make it Hero Factory and not Bionicle, because I can't think of a single Bionicle set that came with stickers. So that's a fun fact. Next up, we got the Golden Visorak. I can't remember what the name of this character is properly. Maybe it is just Golden Visorak. But this is actually not a standalone Bionicle figure. This is actually from one of the Playscale sets that LEGO tried to do for Bionicle, where the Bionicle figures were actually minifigure scale, and then the sets were built out of normal LEGO bricks with some Technic mixed in. Yeah, this is technically supposed to be a giant Visorak. He's not supposed to scale with normal Bionicle characters. He's supposed to be giant compared to what would be a minifigure scale Bionicle. So that's fun. It's definitely a less common Bionicle, so it's really odd to find it, and it's also kind of cool that it was complete, like it has all of its pieces. The only thing that wasn't together on this figure was one of its little leg pieces here, and I found that in the bottom of the bin and was able to complete it. So yeah, Golden Visorak. Pretty sweet. I love the little play feature for his little pinchers there. And of course we have the best Bionicle ever, this guy. Yeah, he doesn't really have a name. He's just too powerful to have a name. Yeah, you know, this is the kind of thing that you just get in these lots. Random pieces stuck together from some kid using their imagination as they should with a Lego product. But yeah, good parts from some Vaki and some Toa Nuva, so that's cool. But most importantly, at least as far as Bionicle is concerned, we have a good majority of Vizon, one of the more rare Bionicle villains from I think like the 2010 era. He's only really missing a foot and a little piece here for his thigh and the end of his staff. Of course, he doesn't have the beast that he normally rides into battle, but I mean, it's mostly complete Vizon. I'm not going to complain about that at all. He has his mask, which is usually like the most important part with any Bionicle, and I think I could probably piece him together from my collection. So yeah, mostly complete Vizon is pretty awesome. So then the rest of it is a lot of just random odds and ends, just, you know, Bionicle parts. Good parts, not any complete figures, but there were a couple things that I was able to pull out of the bottom of the box that I think are really, really cool and completely surprised me, actually. First off, we have a mini spider droid from Lego Star Wars, or at least a good part of one. You know, enough parts that I think I could piece this together for my collection once again, so I'm not going to say no to that. Then I grabbed this random robot. I have no idea what this is from. It's only stamped with Made in China, so it might just be generic robot dude, but it looks cool. It kind of looks like War Machine mixed with like a Gundam or something. I kind of dig it. It has a removable weapon. Yeah, cool robot action figure. Not the best surprise from the Bionicle box, but still just a nice figure to add to the collection of random oddities. But the best thing that I found in this box of rather rare and expensive Bionicles was not a Bionicle at all. It was actually Clone Commander Devis, or just the Red Commander. I was so stoked to actually find a Star Wars action figure at the flea market. Flea markets often in my area are just like rusty tools and a bunch of antiques, which I like. I do like antiques. I do like that stuff. That's why I go. But I wish that there was more modern vendors. And as I was digging for Bionicle parts in the bottom of this bin, I stumbled upon him, and I was so stoked. Like, I was so happy to finally find a Star Wars figure at the flea market. Now, he is missing a hand, but that's okay. It's Clone Commander Devis. Come on, I can find a hand for him, no problem. And not only that, this is probably like the 4th or 5th Devis that I have in my collection now. So I'm thinking it's time to do something with him. It's time to do like a custom, and my guess is that I'm probably going to just do something really simple like this, removing all of the accessories, finding a generic belt and putting that on him, and then making like a custom unit like this that just has red stripes and, you know, no pauldron, no cama, things like that. Making just a clone unit that looks like this, and I would probably just call it whatever the Sentinel Corps from Battlefront 2 is, because they are essentially just Phase 2 clones with red stripes down the chest, red stripes down the arms, and this would make a pretty good purist custom of that unit. Like, I don't have to paint anything, just take the accessories off, swap them out for some others. Of course, I would probably make a commander have, you know, maybe a pauldron with a normal belt, or maybe just a camo with a normal belt. But yeah, because I've collected so many of this figure from just random lots that I've bought and, you know, flea markets, I think I'm going to have to make the Sentinel Corps from Battlefront 2. It just makes sense. It's a cool color for a clone unit, and also it would just be nice to have some more unique clones on the shelf instead of just having an army of Clone Commander Devis, which doesn't really make a lot of sense. But yeah, there is everything that I found in the last week. Between a garbage day and a flea market, I'd say I did pretty good. I just wanted to share it here on the channel because it was fun. It was a fun weekend, and these are some really cool action figures and collectibles that I get to add to the collection. I wanted to share that with all of you and kind of also show a little bit more of the oddities that I collect on the channel that aren't just toys. You know, film and comic books, and of course the random VHS tapes that I find. Yeah, this is definitely the Rustabout Collects Random Things channel. Maybe that's a new name for it. I'll call it the Rustabout Collects Random Things and Junk channel. But with that, we are bringing this video to a close. So as always, thank you all so much for watching. Down in the description, there is a link tree to all of my social media and just different things. And of course, have a wonderful evening, noon, or night, depending on when you're watching this video. And as always, I will catch you all in the next video.